Narcissist hoovers, victim fights back. Hello, I'm hgTudor. The hoover is a device that's utilised by the narcissist to get to the prime aims. There are lots of different hoovers that take place. The hoover might be by telephoning somebody, sending a text message, turning up in person. It can be done by proxy, utilising another person to effect the hoover. It could be done by sending a gift. It might be done by sending a social media message. It could be done by going and standing outside somebody's home. It could be done by throwing a brick through somebody's window. There are lots of different types of hoover that occur, and the pretext for them can vary from the benign to the malign. The purpose of the hoover is ostensibly to assert control over the victim and to draw fuel from them. It might also be the case of pursuing some character trait or a residual benefit, but usually the purpose of the hoover is to control that victim and to draw fuel from them. Sometimes it's a one-off event, a follow-up hoover, which is done because the victim has come up on the narcissist's radar. The narcissist, therefore, needs to assert control. The narcissism selects the first direct assertion of control because the conditions are suitable for that to be the case, and the hoover is effected. Thus, the narcissist sends a text message to the victim, maybe after silence for 6 months, and because the victim hasn't put in place a total no-contact regime, the hoover is effective. It gets through, and they respond to the message. In other instances, the part of the hoover might be to try and draw the victim back into a relationship with the narcissist, to strike up a friendship once again, to go back to being boyfriend and girlfriend. But not every hoover seeks that. Sometimes it's just about ensuring that subconsciously the narcissist knows that they've got control over that person because they've responded, and they draw some fuel from them. They swoop in, hoover, get the notification the individual's under control, drink of the fuel with an exchange, and then disappear again. The victim is unsure as to what was going on. They don't hear from them. They message the narcissist but get no reply from them because the narcissist doesn't need to deal with them any longer. They've signalled they're under control, and they've given the fuel, and the narcissist is getting fuel elsewhere. The narcissist ignores that individual because they have no sense of obligation towards them. Thus, the victim is left confused. I don't understand. Why did this person get in touch with me? It was a friendly exchange, and now they've disappeared and they're ignoring my message. What's all that about? But of course, by accessing my work, you're able to understand what's actually going on and why the narcissist is treating you in that manner. Hoovers can come at lots of different times. There are the seductive hoovers, as the narcissist seeking to draw you into a formal relationship. You can be hoovered in the course of the relationship when the narcissist perhaps is physically away from you. Typically, you're hoovered after the relationship has ended. Sometimes by way of the initial grand hoover as the narcissist fights to get you back into the relationship where you have left. Maybe months later, post-disengagement, where the narcissist got rid of you and then has grown bored of the new person that they went to, that person is being painted black, and thus you have reverted to being painted white, making the risk for you of being hoovered increased. And for those who've not put in place a solid no-contact regime, the narcissist comes back, maybe a year later, sniffing around. And some victims invariably fall prey to it, falling into the arms of the narcissist once again. The most effective thing, of course, to do when you realise you've been dealing with a narcissist is to get out and then to stay out, the principle of go-so. And staying out means putting in place a total no-contact regime so that the narcissist attempted hoovers, and the narcissist will attempt to hoover you. Even though people think, oh, I wounded the narcissist, I exposed them, they'll never hoover me, that's complacent thinking. You're always at risk of a hoover. It's the level of risk that varies. The fact is that the narcissist will attempt to hoover you at some juncture. And therefore, if you have a solid no-contact regime, that narcissist isn't going to succeed with their hoover, and you don't even get to hear about it. You've changed your telephone number, so when they try to call you, you don't know. Or when they try to text you, you don't know. You've locked down your social media, so their attempts to get in touch there aren't even brought to your attention. Thus, you maintain that total no-contact regime. But in some instances, the hoover will get through, and the most effective thing to do there is not to respond to it and ensure that you then tighten up your no-contact regime. However, we have a tale here where the victim didn't do that and actually fought back with a rather interesting result. The report is from James Cerrone, writing in the Daily Mail. A violinist has hit back at her childhood bully, who daringly sent a message asking her to perform for free at her upcoming wedding. Now, because somebody was a childhood bully, that doesn't automatically make them a narcissist. But you'll see from the range of behaviours that I'm going to go through why this individual is a narcissist. But the fact that they bully demonstrates an absence of emotional empathy. It demonstrates a sense of entitlement and is a rudimentary form of manipulation. Furthermore, sending a message asking the victim to perform for free at her upcoming wedding shows a sense of entitlement, a lack of emotional empathy, and a lack of accountability. Tiffany Moore, aged 31, a professional musician who has been performing at events for 19 years, was horrified to get a random message from the woman who tormented her when they were kids. While growing up together in the same town, Moore says her days at elementary and middle school were often a struggle, while feeling overwhelmed from nasty comments and cruel behaviour, which left her feeling isolated and full of self-doubt. Now, years later, she felt the trauma creep back when she received a message from the bully who had a special request. "Hey girl," her opening message read, Hoover by message, "I'm getting married and totally want you to play violin for my ceremony in October. It would be the perfect gift, plus you could use photos and videos to build your performance portfolio. Win-win." The audacity of the message, which of course is a Hoover, shocked the performer, with the bully seeming to have forgotten their interactions all those years ago. Compartmentalization. The musician was quick to shut her former tormentor down. Moore told DailyMail.com, "The bullying began when they were kids. Her bully often called her instrument choice geeky, belittlement, and described her playing as sounding like a cat dying, insult. In middle school, things got worse. She was just relentless, getting her friends to gang up on me, use of the coterie, and make fun of me, belittlement, or even pretend that I didn't exist, invalidation," Moore said. Going to activities for church and school, she would tell everybody not to talk to me, smearing, and that if they so much as looked at me, she was not going to be their friend. Use of threat over those other school children for the purposes of isolating Moore. This treatment led Moore to have only 2 friends who were younger than her and seen as outcasts or underdogs. Moore recalled the sting she felt in the moment of reading the message. "When I saw that message at first, my heart sank because I was like, oh no, she's back." Now, it's likely that Moore doesn't realise that this childhood bully is actually a narcissist, and given the fact that they have moved on with separate lives, didn't think that it was necessary for her to impose a total no-contact regime in relation to this bully. "Part of me felt like a middle schooler again, being shunned and bullied for making music, and presenting myself in a way that people were intrigued." She let the message sit for 20 minutes before telling the woman, now the same age as Moore, that it was bold of her to ask for a $2,500 service for free. "You bullied me relentlessly in middle school for being in orchestra," she wrote. Thus, she responds to what the bully has done, which of course provides challenge fuel to the narcissist. The narcissist is getting part of what she wants, a reaction. She's getting fuel. And of course, this is upsetting for the victim. She feels the same sensations as an adult as she did as a child, showing the deep-rooted impact that the behaviour has had upon her. But nevertheless, she is still moved, driven perhaps by emotional thinking, to seek to fight back. The better route would have been to remain completely silent. That would have frustrated the narcissist and wounded her, and to then block her, so that would ensure that she received no further hoovers. Thus, the spike in emotional thinking would be reduced pretty quickly. But she responded, driven by a desire to set the narcissist straight. She stated, "You bullied me relentlessly in middle school for being in orchestra," she wrote. She also hit back at the idea that performing at this wedding would be the make or break for her compendious portfolio that she'd been building since she was aged 12. In her reply, the woman asked if she would compromise for a discount instead, sense of entitlement, adding that she wanted to be friends and leave the past behind us, dismissiveness, compartmentalization. "I already have friends, thanks," Moore wrote back. "I don't have time to entertain your ignorance." Moore said that she's worked hard to establish a fee, which she'll often tweak, but is put off when people expect a lower rate. "For family and friends, I often do things for free or at a reduced rate, but they never ask," she said, which demonstrates they don't operate with a sense of entitlement. The bully steamrolled, sense of entitlement, right through Moore's rejection, because of course it was a threat to control, and once again asked if she was available on October the 3rd for her wedding, this time offering to pay $1,000, far less than the $2,500 Moore usually charges. "This is too much," Moore texts back. "I have to decline your $1,000 offer and also refuse to work for exposure." Thus, she threatens control once again, and this then ignited the fury of the bully. She fell back into her old habits by stating, "Well, well, well. Who's the mean girl now, bitch? Go cry about not being able to pay your bills because you're too greedy. Besides, you're not even worth it and you suck." Thus, the friendliness that she was exhibiting at first really didn't last, and her narcissism has shone through as a consequence of this victim rejecting her, thus threatening her sense of control. As a consequence, this results in the ignition of fury, and she responds with an insulting message. Thereafter, having found her voice, Moore decided to post their interaction online. This, of course, is a further breach of no contact in taking such a step, because it means that you're continuing to do something in relation to the narcissist. It also has potentially adverse consequences because you're exposing the narcissist's behavior, and if the narcissist were to become aware of that, that could result in them increasing their hoovering or smearing of you. The bully then saw the videos which featured their conversations and was outraged, ignition of fury as a consequence of exposure amounting to a threat to control, telling Moore that she was finished, and then that Moore was the bully in this situation, projection. She even made a vague threat about calling a lawyer, use of threat, which Moore pounced on, added, "I'm not worried here." Moore explained that once the string of messages was published to her Instagram, people in the comments were telling her to reach out to her bully's fiancé. She refused to do so, which clearly shows that she recognises boundaries and has some emotional empathy, saying it wasn't my place. But notwithstanding this, it didn't take long for whispers of the exchange to actually reach the fiancé, and he contacted Moore on Instagram via his personal account. A friend of his had sent him Moore's videos, which was how he managed to get connected and message Moore. The fiancé shared his soon-to-be bride's version of events, which was that the potential violinist for their wedding, Moore, was rude and unprofessional to her, smearing revision of history. The fiancé explained she's being secretive and hiding things constantly. Secrecy. "I feel like she's cheating on me too, so I don't know what to do." Potential infidelity. He ended up confronting his bride-to-be after a church service and was met with an attitude of aggression, ignited fury, that Moore had been familiar with. The fiancé later messaged Moore to say she lashed out like the bully she is, heated ignited fury, telling him things like she never loved him anyway, belittlement. She ostracized him from his friends, the typical manipulation of the narcissist in order to control the intimate partner primary source. he has not had friends in 2 years because she made him only spend time with her monopolization of time for the purposes of control. In the midst of the blow-up, the wedding was called off. The man messaged Moore to say he was grateful he found out who his partner really was. "You literally saved my life," he wrote in an Instagram message to Moore. "I'm going to try and fix things with my friends." Moore wrote back, "Today is the beginning of a new chapter for you. Cheers to a fresh start. No more narcissistic relationships." Moore then got the man's permission to share the screenshots of their conversation together. Her Instagram following was quick to give the freshly single guy the pick-me-up he likely needed. People in the comments were being so lovely towards him and just encouraging him to try and say, "This is the first day of the rest of your life. You have your whole life ahead of you, and someday you're going to find someone who cherishes you." Thus, here we have a narcissist who hoovered years later after making the life of a victim when she was a child a misery, swooping back in. Reason being, she needed a violinist, and she knew that the victim was a violinist, which brought her up on her radar. She needed to assert control over her, and she sought to do so by hiring her. Exhibiting her sense of entitlement, she wanted her to perform for nothing, then for less than half of her usual fee. Naturally disconcerted that the bully had got in touch, and also that the bully was acting in an entitled fashion, the victim stood her ground. The result of this was the ignition of fury, and this resulted in the bully narcissist once again showing the devaluing behaviours. Not content with that, however, and refusing to work for her, the victim posted the exchange, which came to the attention of the fiancé, who also confirmed the nature of this narcissist, which resulted in him getting away from her. Thus, the victim was able to stand her ground and reject the hoover, setting the narcissist straight. And this resulted in the intimate partner primary source realizing that he was dealing with somebody wholly unpleasant, causing him to escape. An interesting outcome, and demonstrates the way that the narcissist will hoover years later, but here it had unexpected consequences for the narcissist. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.